me back in 2022, trying to find at least one study channel that will give me the advice I need. And now I finished high school, and guess what? I still haven't found a single channel that is useful. Like, isn't there at least one authentic YouTuber out there who teaches me how to devour all my NCERT textbooks? Think about it. In a country which supposedly populates 17% of the entire world population, shouldn't there be at least one channel that is useful? Apparently there isn't. Because I have scrounged through the rabbit holes of YouTube for 4 years of my high school life, and everything I've ended up with is 1. People who are obsessed with filming themselves. 2. People who watch lecture videos. 3. People who take classwork notes in their study vlog. I am not joking. I literally saw a girl who opened up her laptop and was copying her classwork notes from a PDF onto her laptop and called that study vlog. No hate to anybody out there who does study vlogs or watches study vlogs. Great for you. Your channel, you do what you want. I'm not gonna complain about it. But maybe it's probably because I'm not a vlog person, and I definitely do not care how many Maggie packets you finished that day while studying. So it was not useful for me. Sometimes these study vlogs contain more food than a food ASMR channel, so I don't know what to do about that. That aside, since we live in an era where content is republished again and again, whatever study video you click, most of them will contain the content which you've already watched, because everybody is typing the same prompt onto ChatGPT and getting the same 5 study tips and reposting it everywhere, so it's not helpful at all. So after 3 hours of searching on YouTube how to study, you turn off your laptop and go back and sit and study again, or not. As someone who has studied in CBSE for 14 years and also has her future hanging because of the new OSM, I think I am a fairly well-educated person to talk about the topic of NCERT textbooks. Our school moved from private books to NCERT books in like 6th grade, and I remember being so confused because why have they yapped so much? The people who write the NCERT books have graduated in yapology, because NCERT books are structured in such a way that you have to like go through the material, read through the story, figure things out yourself. Like, most of us are not there because we want to become PhD scholars on that specific subject, and most of us are there just to find what content is written and how can I put that on my paper in the exam. So people found 3 ways to get away from this. 1, tuition. They read from their tuition notes or what their tuition teacher teaches, because they basically know what comes in your exam because they've been training your school students for years. 2, guides. Big guides which are 10 times fatter than your textbook, so you can spend your time. I don't know why people use your guides, man. Like, they're much more harder to study than textbook. Like, if the lesson is 20 pages in the textbook, it's 200 pages in that guide. Why would you choose to study from there? Mainly, I think people use that probably because instead of paragraphs, it's given in points. So it's easier for you to just memorize everything and hopefully remember them in the examination, which is usually not the case, but... Or 3rd, you just don't study. I mean, what's the point of studying if CBSE is gonna just ruin everything with online marking? No hate to CBSE, bro. I studied here for 14 years, so I'm loyal. So what would be your next plan if your textbooks don't work out? YouTube. So you open up your computer, laptop, whatever, and search up a lecture video for that lesson you're trying to study. And it's great. You will sit there for 2 hours listening to that lecture, but you will close your laptop and realize you learned nothing. And then you take your PYQs trying to solve a single question, and guess what? You remember nothing. You obviously don't recall shit because you've been listening to everything passively. It's just as bad as watching reels for 2 hours and all you can remember is 2 funny reels, which are not that funny because everything is filled with AI slop nowadays. But surprisingly, a lot of people use this method to study, because if you look at a study vlog, it's usually a person who sits with their laptop, opens up a physics wala lecture and takes notes. And it's not even like active notes. They're not listening and writing. They are just copying down what the lecturer writes on the board, which is again passive, because your brain is not working. You are not putting any effort. Your eyes are working, your hands are working, but what is going inside your brain? Nothing. I mean, you might understand what the teacher is teaching you as well. If he's teaching you a concept, you will gaslight yourself into thinking, oh my gosh, yes, I understand this material. But you actually don't, because understanding it at the point where they teach you is completely different from reinterpreting that into your paper during exams. So the lecture method is great for your prerequisite before studying. It's like if you understand nothing from the concept and you just cannot touch your book, you can open up your lecture video to start your flow state. Like, okay, I know something about the material which is at least 20% farther from my start point. So now I can actually get inside the book and know what they're talking about. Because if you think lecture video studying is the only studying you're gonna do, then I'm not against lecture culture. I love teachers teaching. They put so much effort for their students taking these online classes and stuff. But I'm saying this is not everything you should be doing. Like, lecture videos should be a part of your studying. They should not be your entire studying. So I suggest you use lectures for your pre-preparing plan, and then you learn the material, and then you do PYQs, which will help you retain the information longer. It honestly depends on what kind of a person you are. Are you a person who's passionately into the subject and want to understand every single realm of it? Or are you just a person who, wants to study the least amount of material to pass in your exam? So there are two different people, and it's completely subjective. What works for one will not work for another, even if they are slightly different in their, goals as to what you want to achieve. And also, you don't need to take the same approach to every single subject that you are learning. When it comes to me, I try to make the best out of every subject that is given. So if you ask me something from 8th grade or 9th grade, I will be able to recall a good amount of information, including the titles and what we learned and what it was based on, because I spent weeks and months marinating the subject. Back then, I didn't feel that way, but as I grew older, I felt like even if it's not necessarily the mark which I aimed, the main goal for me was that I studied the material, which gave me more happiness than writing the exam or whatever. So it depends upon you, man. It's pretty subjective when it comes to knowledge and education. So learn about learning before you learn something. Oh, that was cool. Bars. I'm not gonna do an outro. That's gonna be so lame. Okay, bye. I used to make the best out of any subject that was given to me. And when it